This is the Bionicle Inspiration series where we take a look at Bionicle MOCs from across the Bionicle community to give you some inspiration for some of the stuff that you might be planning on building, currently building, or hoping to build in the future. Today we're going to be talking all about dragons. I've got some very nice dragon themed MOCs today, and I kind of like the idea with this episode of focusing on different types of dragons, because there's a lot of different types of dragons. So let's take a look at a few various different ones, some from pop culture, some with varying different sort of shapes and sizes and body types and stuff like that, and let's see if they can give you some inspiration. So let's dive into the very first one. It's by Anthony Wilson, and this is Melinda the Dragon. So right off the bat, the color scheme of this is gorgeous. This uses specifically some pieces from the Lego Elves theme, which was such a brilliant theme with brilliant colors and some actually really decent like dragons and foxes and other kind of like creatures that featured in some of the later waves of that theme. And if you happen to have any elf sets, definitely look at those pieces because they're so helpful for Bionicle MOCs. Unfortunately, they're not always super cheap these days, but hey, if you happen to have some, or maybe you're willing to spend some of that money, you can look into doing so. But I mean, some are more expensive than others, but you buy with caution. Still, as we can see here, the head and these wings are also from an elf set as well. So it's nice to see how they partner up with Bionicle pieces, Hero Factory pieces, and all your other sort of system pieces and things here. And they just kind of work beautifully in tandem like that. So yeah, really cool to see. And I think just a good lesson in general. There's a lot of current system sets as well that, depending on how you use it, could also have brilliant applications with pre-existing Bionicle, Hero Factory construction style pieces. So definitely pay attention to other system themes. You never know what might be useful for you. I specifically love this neck design here. It's great to see that it's just using the typical Hero Factory bones in black, the same kind of bones that are being used on the back legs of this MOC, and then just having some of that Keat orange armor placed over the top there. But then on the other side of it, he's been able to put some extra kind of system pieces there just to kind of fill in what would kind of look a little bit unsightly because it's just that sort of exposed bone with no armor over the top of it. So by using those droid arms, he's able to place that little pneumatic tube piece, that sort of light bluish grey kind of T-bar element, and insert that into the hull of the Hero Factory armor piece, and then kind of bridge over some of those plates with clips on the ends there, and then put a boat stud over the top of it there just to really kind of fill in those gaps, and it just looks awesome. And it's great to see the kind of underbelly sort of go all the way to the top there with that, I believe that's magenta color there, as that lovely contrast with the Keat orange. A brilliant color scheme there. So really nice technique, very clever how that's been made. And also just in general, I love the fact that this dragon has a massive neck. I guess typically with the dragons you see, they're more kind of like wyverns, or, I mean, that's the kind of dragons you see in like Game of Thrones and Skyrim and other video games and things. But I like the fact that this is more of like a chocobo from Final Fantasy, or it's almost like dinosaur-like or something. It's just unique and it's just cool. And you can see qualities of that, like with the little hands and, dinosaur legs and stuff like that. It's cool. It's really cool. So a very different way of doing a dragon, but one that I think works very nicely. This next MOC is by Bodhi, and this is Red Dragon MOC. So I like that this is a bit more of a humanoid dragon, very different to what we saw before, and again, a bit more different from your very stereotypical dragons. Some interesting stuff to note, I guess, more in the construction of this dragon is the kind of lower legs and the feet on this dragon specifically. The feet are a bit kind of larger and sturdier and bulkier in a sense, and I think that's wise on a MOC that's quite tall like this one is here, because you need a big sort of sturdy base of support so that it can hold itself up, and I guess that's one smart way of doing so, and it works quite well on this dragon here, so you can get those sort of three claws and mimic the look of dragon feet in that sense. So it's a good design, and it's also interesting to see on the upper legs there the use of sort of two of those silver piston pieces there, and how they're sort of built into what looks like a pretty sturdy frame there. That's again, always wise to use piston pieces on larger MOCs like this so that they can hold themselves up. You saw it in the official Lego set, so it just makes sense to do it on a MOC that you're making as well. I enjoy the head design on this as well, very kind of menacing and cool with a lot of different teeth pieces and stuff like that. But I really enjoy how the upper arm has kind of been bridged down into the lower arm. We can see the sort of connecting area there, that there is a Metru torso being used. And naturally, the way that that Metru torso worked is it was sort of bulked out at the top and sort of slimmed down so that it could transfer into the, the waist on your typical Toa Metru character. But it's interesting how it's been used here, so that sort of natural bulk kind of leads up into the more muscular upper arms, and then kind of thins out when the lower arms get a bit smaller. So I think it's a clever piece to use because the natural transition of that piece is big to small, and since that's the same kind of look that they're going for here with the arm design, of it sort of being bulkier at the top and slimming down towards the bottom, it's just wise and smart to do so. So a good part use in that sense there, just to take advantage of the natural shapes and sizes of those pieces and use it to your advantage. It's clever. So lovely work, Bodhi. Let's move over to Blizzard the Dragon, and this is by Jordan Swartz. So the description here says, Blizzard, the fire-breathing dragon, loves ice lollies, or icy poles, whatever you want to call them. I think that's one of those things that people call many different names across the world. Regardless, though, this is derpy, weird, and very fun. So I also kind of like that idea if you're building a dragon. Yes, you could go more humanoid. You could go for a slightly more distinct, different look for a dragon. You could go your typical dragon, or you could just be silly, wild, and goofy like this one here, which I very much like. I think what really works about this is the fact that it is all 100% Lego. It even says that in the description here on Flickr. So you might be like, well, what about the cloth elements and some of the other stuff? So this is using pieces from a kind of old Lego theme that was sort of Lego's answer to Barbie, I guess. And it is Scala. So here's some different Scala sets and stuff like that. So yeah, Scala was such a odd Lego theme. It just doesn't even feel like Lego to a degree. But it's really cool. And I mean, we have Scala to thank for a lot of the food elements and different things like that that appear in Lego sets today, because a lot of that was scaled to fit the much larger kind of Scala figure. And then they just kind of carried it across into system sets, which is why you have carrots that are the size of an actual human when they probably shouldn't be. The actual kind of like body frame here, you can kind of see it on the hands. You can just sort of see a little hand poking out there. The rest is covered with tires and stuff. I believe that is just the typical body of a Scala figure. I mentioned it before. I love the fact that it's covered with tires because I think it blends perfectly with this dragon headpiece. And this dragon headpiece comes from I think it was 2008 Castle, or the Fantasy Era, as Bricklink calls it, whatever you want to refer to it as. This specific set had that dragon in it, and it's a fantastic non-brick built Lego dragon piece. And it's lovely to see the head taken off and then implemented on this humanoid body here. It's just kind of funny. It's just kind of cool. And then seeing that headpiece merged with those tire elements, I think is a clever way of doing that, because it kind of sort of subtly matches the head. It also kind of doesn't to a degree, but it looks enough like dragon scales or dragon sort of hide or whatever that again it gets the job done. And it's a nice way of kind of building over the top of that Scala doll, which probably doesn't have a lot of actual connection points to it. So it's a nice way to actually make it look a bit more Lego-like in that sense. So yeah, just very clever, but also very silly. And I think that's just such a good message, isn't it? Of like, yes, you can take your MOC seriously because that's always fun, but also you can not take your MOC seriously at all, and you can come up with weird, wonderful stuff like this, which is just so cool. So if you've got some Scala or you've got some dragon heads that you want to put on weird bodies and stuff like that, do it, because this MOC is just so fun. On to the final MOC now. This is by Jafer, and this is Toothless, who I'm sure you recognize from How to Train Your Dragon. So this MOC is fantastic. It's very much within Jafer's style because it's really freaking good and it's so filled with life and good techniques. It's all the reasons that we like Jafer and Jafer's work, and a lot of the reasons why he won Lego Masters. So some stuff that immediately grabbed me about this MOC is, actually the posability of it is really cool. The poses that this is in here and the amount of like character that these poses are conveying is just so fun. It just seems to have as much life as he does in the movies as well. It's cool. Like, definitely pay attention to how you pose your MOCs in your photographs, because it can do a lot for the MOC. I love the inclusion of some of those Hero Factory shell pieces for the lower legs there. There's something about the way they've been integrated and how close the little paws are or I guess they're claws, whatever you want to call them, to that Hero Factory armor piece that makes it look a little bit sort of, like chubby and cute, very kind of similar to the source material. Not that I would say Toothless is chubby, but it has that sort of like rounded cartoon-like quality to it. And it's been very well executed and conveyed with pretty simple pieces there. So that's really nice to see. The head design in itself is also fantastic. Seeing just the beautiful kind of like rounded shape of it, and I love sort of the rough design of the eye using one of those socket pieces, your typical kind of black socket that is often used for like hands or to connect a foot or whatever, and then using some of the connection points on it, like the ones on the side there to attach the boat stud, because you can actually shove some studs into that if you use the older style of handpiece. And then on the connections on the side, inserting one of the claw pieces and those larger tooth pieces to kind of round off the edge there and really smooth out the design is gorgeous. And then inserting the green ball joint as well with what appears to be a minifigure handpiece and probably some cut flex tube or something to get the actual kind of like pupil and eye effect there. That looks so very, very cool. So yeah, brilliant way of recreating the source material there and just absolutely nailing the head design of Toothless. It's really nice to see. And then we can see some of those black wing pieces that we mentioned before from that Elves-inspired dragon by Anthony Wilson before. So always nice to see those wings being used. They're you could have built a more complex wing design or something, but why not just use some of those pre-existing wing pieces? They get the job done and they do it well. So yeah, a phenomenal mock and a phenomenal take on Toothless by Jafer here. He really nailed this. So that's it for all these dragons in this dragon-themed episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series. If you've got some mocks that you want to see on the show yourself, you can submit them through the submission email that's on your screen right now. If you want to check out some of the other work that these builders have done, check the links in the description below and you can see all the stuff that they've got going on over there. And if you want to see instructions for that Toothless mock, you can. Jafer has instructions for them. Check the link in the description, and there's more details about how you can get those on his Flickr, so check those out as well. Oh, you know what? While we're at it, because I was supposed to talk about this, it was in my notes and I just forgot. Scala has weird, creepy babies. Here's a mock by Jordan Schwartz again that uses that Scala baby piece. So if you're into weird, creepy mocks and stuff, do that. Go get the Scala babies. They're terrifying, and a lot of people have used them in some weird, creepy ways. So yeah, if that's something that's up your alley, you like building creepy, weird stuff, invest in a Scala baby because it's a good way to do so. But anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you very much enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.